So this reading is for Adam, and he wanted to know whether he should contemplating leaving his work, his place of employment. So for this reading, I will be using the Greenwich Tarot deck. Now keep in mind, with each one of these cards, there is a plant and an animal that symbolizes further information, so I'll be sure to share that throughout the reading. So for this reading, I will be using the spread called Should You, Shouldn't You. This is a 9-card spread. Now we have 10 cards on the table here because we did have a jumper. So we have card 1, 2, and 3, which represents what may happen should he decide to go ahead and do what he's contemplating, so leaving his work in this case. And then we have card 4, 5, 6, which talks about what would happen if he maintains, keep things as it is. Then we have the outcome, should he decide to make the change, and then the outcome, should he leave everything the same. And then the 9th card is something that should be considered before deciding one way or the other. And then, of course, the jumper card. So before we get started, I'd like to do a quick prayer. I call upon my angels and my guides to please be in communications with Adam's angels and guides. May you provide a clear and accurate reading. I also call upon Archangel Michael to please surround this reading in white light so that only divine messages may come through. Perfect. So let's get started with the reading. So we will start with card 1, 2, and 3, which talks about what may happen if you do what you are contemplating. So in this case, leaving your work. The first card that we get is the sun. Now, the symbol of the herb for the sun, or the plant in the sun, is the sunflower, and that talks about happiness, joy, well-being, and harmony. The animal symbol in this card is the golden eagle, which talks about success and achievement. So if you go ahead and leave your job, you will definitely feel a sense of success and joy. You're going to feel kind of free, right? The second card that we have here is the Lord of Shadows reversed. So with the Lord of Shadows reversed, the plant that's represented here is the yew tree, which talks about the underworld, change, rebirth, and renewal. And then the animal that's symbolized here is the Luna moth, which talks about transition and moving towards the light. Now, in this case, the Lord of Shadows card is actually in the reverse position. So this talks more about stagnation, immobility, resistance to change. So if you go ahead and leave your work, yes, you will feel that sense of success and excitement, but it's going to be the type of decision that's going to be really hard to do, and changes isn't going to come easy. So it's the next step isn't clear. It's not, you're going to have trouble there. There's going to be kind of a stop. The next card that we have is the 4 of Pentacles, also in the reverse position. So for this one here, the plant that's represented is the nettle, which talks about security, home protection, increasing finance. And then we also have for the animal, the turtle, which also talks about security, abundance, defense, and relationship. Now, in this card, because it's in the reverse situation, now Pentacles normally talks about resources, which makes a lot of sense that that comes up since this is talking about work. So if you go ahead and leave work, it's kind of saying that the reasoning behind you wanting to do that is more greed. You're feeling you're not getting what you deserve where you are right now, so that's kind of what's pushing you towards this decision. It talks about delays. So kind of, again, yes, you will feel relieved. You will be joyful about being out of that circumstances, but the next steps isn't going to come easily for you. The changes isn't going to be an easy change. There'll be a lot of resistance there. And the personal, what's motivating you is more like on a greedy side, which makes sense. you're not feeling you're getting your worth where you're at, and that's the reason you're contemplating this change. Now let's have a look at what will happen if you keep things as is. So the first card we get here is the Crone reversed. So in this card, the plant that's depicted is the Angelica, which talks about power, strength. It's actually the sign of the Leo. And then we have for the animal the lion, which talks about authority, power, and strength. Now, because this is in a reverse position, it talks about weakness, emotionalism, compromising. So if you go ahead and stay at your place of work right now, it's gonna be kind of a weakness type of decision. You're just gonna be giving in to what the people around you want. It's kind of a compromise that you're be given up to make this be right. The next card that we have here is the Earth Mother reverse. So the plant that we have here is the wheat, which talks about wealth, fertility, and good fortune. And then the animal is the duck, which is abundance, prosperity, and fertility. Now, again, this card is in the reverse situation. So what this is talking about is unrecognized potential, block creativity, slow progress. So if you stay where you're at, you're going to feel like you're not appreciated. You're not living up to your potential and your abilities. The next card that we have here, should you leave everything as is nature. So nature talks about the plant that's kind of shared here is the comfrey, and it talks about binding, control, or liberation of control. The animal that we see there is the black bear, and the black bear is endurance, introspection, decision. So this is kind of saying it's accept of self-imposed restrictions, follow inclinations. The potential is obstructed. Allow the nature to follow its course. So you stay where you're at, you're gonna feel like you're giving up. You give in. You're gonna feel weak about it, like you're giving in to the general consensus. You're compromising, but it's not truly what you want to happen. You will feel like you're underappreciated there and you're not living to your full potential. But the nature card is saying a lot of those feelings come from you. There's been so much bad feelings there, or kind of bad energy that's been created there, that even if things are a little bit better or improve, you're not going to recognize that. You're going to have trouble seeing it. It's kind of like you're dealing with somebody who you got really upset with. Even if the relationship is better, those past hurts kind of keep popping up, right? So let's see what the outlook will be if you go ahead and leave your place of employment. So the card that we got there is the 10 of Wands. Now, Wands talks about action, and this is a 10 of Wands reversed. So for this particular card, the plant that is shared is the dill, which talks about stress, security, fortitude, willpower. And then the animal that we see is a squirrel, which talks about concentration, action, and knowledge. Now, the 10 of Wands normally talks about kind of heavy load, a heavy burden. But because this is in a reverse situation, it's talking about being overcommitted. There's no kind of plans that's lined up, so things are coming to a stop. It's a very stressful load here in this case. So if you go ahead and leave your place of employment, just to recap of all this. Yes, you will feel like you've finally broken free, and you will get some joy and success, a feeling of success out of this, or victory out of this. But you're going to be kind of having a hard time dealing with the change. And this is kind of a decision that's kind of coming more from a greed perspective. But the outcome will be that you will feel overburdened. You'll feel like there's taking too much on and things aren't happening. Things are coming to a stop. Now, if you do go ahead and stay where you're at, the outcome card that we got for that one is the Five of Chalice. So the Chalice talks more on an emotional side. The plant that's represented in this card is the blackberry, which talks about attachment, grief, healing, and growth. And then the animal that we have is the hare, and it talks about crossroad, cycles, sensitivity, and renewal. So now what this is saying is talks about useless regrets, partial loss, difficulty with legacy, a stressful relationship, dwelling on past upsets, and you ignoring the present bounty. So kind of like I was saying when we were talking a little bit, the nature card here is you will feel that you've lost. You will feel that you've kind of given up and you're staying where you're at. And some of those past issues will you'll be kind of dwelling a little bit on that, and they'll keep popping up in your mind. And you'll be emotionally in a fairly negative zone, that even when things are a little bit better, or that things are improving, you're going to have trouble seeing that because of all of the past hurt that's there. Now, the next card that we have, this one talks about what you should consider before you decide one way or the other. And for this card, we have the Knight of Wands reversed. So in this card, the Knight of Wands, the plant that we get is the golden seal, which talks about strength, stimulation, wisdom, and prosperity. And then the animal that we have is the night hawk, which talks about freedom, determination, and success. Now, because this isn't a reverse situation, it's talking about disorganized travel, looking for new employment. I thought that description there matched this reading perfectly. Interrupted activity, jealousy at the workplace. So what this card is saying, before you make a decision one way or another, because right now it's definitely saying if you leave your work right now, yes, you'll feel a little bit better right away, but you're going to feel very frustrated and stuck afterwards. So it's saying that before you make a decision one way or another, make sure that you got something else lined up. That your next project, your next place of employment has been lined up, and you know what you'd be going through. So make the plans ahead. The Knight normally talks about a person. So in this case, I think it's talking about you. And then the Knight tends to talk more about like adolescent, teenager style energies. So high in action, high in energy, but not fully thought out. So this is kind of saying, be sure that you have the next plan lined up and kind of get your ducks in a row basically before that you go ahead and do that move. Now, we did have a jumper card when we did the reading for you, and that jumper card was the Witch reversed. So in this case here, the plant that was represented was the ginger root, which talks about success, swift action. And then the animal that we have is the crow, and that talks about magic and manifestation. So right now, this card in the reverse situation talks about unconfident, blocked expression, and hesitant. It's saying you're not feeling confident in what you should be doing, and you're not expressing yourself, you're bottling things up. So be sure to not hold everything in, let that sort of stuff out, so that it'll bring in more, it'll cleanse your emotions a little bit more, so that if you stay where you're put, you feel more comfortable there and you can start appreciating your situation a little bit better. And then if you do decide to move, that you're more confident on what the next steps are going to be. So be sure that you stop bottling that stuff out, release it, and cleanse yourself from that negativity. Well, Adam, I hope that this reading resonated with you. Have a blessed day.